Three, two, welcome to the 5 Minute Creative Podcast. I'm Patrick Smith, and this is episode one. We're trying something new this time. I guess this would be episode one of the second series. I did a audio only series in the past, and I don't have any graphics or sound yet. That'll be coming. I didn't want to make that excuse to stop doing this or not do it. So this is the unfun one with no sound and no music intro, but hopefully there'll be great content in here to get everybody excited. We'll see. But for the three people that are listening, but it's January 21st, and there's two primary things I wanted to talk about. Since it's the beginning of the year, state of the creative world, and because we just inaugurated the 47th president yesterday, a couple of predictions for this year, or at least moving forward. So, state of the state in the creative world. And what I mean by that is for small agencies or their creative freelancers, contractors, whatnot, kind of how have things been and what's been my observation? And this is just myself and talking to, I wouldn't say dozens and dozens of other people, but probably close to a dozen other people about the state of the industry. And since last year, there's always a little bit of a dip as we kind of move into election season because I think people are just waiting to see which way the election goes before they spend money, and it's also the holidays and all that kind of stuff. But and it's only been a day since the election, but or not the election, since the inauguration, but and only 21 days after the start of the year. But um, to a man or woman, everyone I've talked to has just been saying it's been so slow. Things are there's trickles of things happening, but it's not like the way it was pre-COVID or even a little bit after COVID. Um, for whatever variety of reasons, I think a few things have happened. One is, uh, AI is on the scene now, and so I think people are starting to experiment with that. Um, AI is very cool, and we've experimented with it a little bit here. I've been trying to figure out a place where I think it might fit or add value, but it's still, to me, very much a kind of almost like a toy. And when I'm saying AI, I mean on the image side of things. It's just for what we do, it's great for brainstorming and come up with random, random visuals. But going into production with something, it's not uh, very practical for all kinds of reasons. And it also takes a long time to get something very specific, tons of prompts, and like literally just, I don't want to say days, but it's a process. And it's almost like just shoot this, photograph this dumb thing. Anyway, what we're trying to make. Um, when it comes to AI and writing, I could see the impact there being way more detrimental to agencies just across the board. All the little pitter patter projects that somebody might have had, whether it's social media or just some research or just little background briefs and things. That's all pretty much going to be AI. It's not going to be as good as maybe a seasoned writer, but unfortunately, I think a lot of people just don't care, and they're like, if I can get it in 5 seconds or a minute versus having to make a phone call or send an email, then I'll just do this. It'll be good enough. And so the lowering of standards, I think, is another part of what's happening out there. And then, on the agency side, there are a couple of uh, things are also happening where, and this has been a slow, like the pendulum has been swinging this way for a while, where a lot of work has moved in-house. And with tools like Canva and whatever else is out there, these companies are saying, well, we can just make this here. And again, it's not going to be as good as an agency or a designer, but it's good enough. And that's kind of the reality we're basking in right now. So there's a little bit of that. And then kind of in the agency network world, where there used to be multiple giants, there were two, now there is one. The consolidation between Omnicom and Publicis. It's like Omnicom's the last guy standing, and where did all the other people go? Well, yeah, they were absorbed, it rolled into another network, bought up someone out of business. Um, but the dollars of those groups, I think, and I haven't like I should probably find an article that proves this, but my theory is that they've all gone into tech, and for whatever reason, tech has become our savior in terms of creative, and I'm saying that kiddingly, and the dollars there, and especially the media dollars, of course, and uh, creative, unfortunately, has become this subset of IT, probably because it's all digital and the analytics that go along with the reporting that goes along with it. But it's just a sad state when you look at some of the work that was created in the. I'm not trying to get all nostalgic and old man like oh back in my day, but it's true that the standards have dropped and the work probably isn't as good on par. So here we are, and that's kind of the state of the state. So I'm hoping. So the state of the state is things are slow. There's a lot of change, and creatives such as myself and other people in my position or other people with small agencies need to start selling and creating things that are very different to survive. That's part of my uh, mission moving forward this year. And I'm really bothered by these little two plugs. I'm gonna try to move those out of the. There we go. All right. So now you see a little bit more of my post-it notes over here. Anyway, those are all projects that are done. It's a big cascade of stuff. So I need to move that. But so that's the state of the state. And hopefully by June, things will have changed because not to be sarcastic, but I heard there's a golden age of America coming. And like I said, I haven't been the hugest fan of the president that is here now, but we'll see. You know, I don't think anything's going to change. I don't think 78-year-olds are going to change that much. But we'll see. But my predictions are, and I'm not trying to be doom or gloom, and I'm not trying to slam this guy. Just this is if past is prologue, you could just see this coming. And I've got three negative ones and one I think is a positive one. So, and if the positive one happens, it definitely won't forgive the other ones, but it might help a little bit. But so. And again, I don't want to turn this into a whole political thing, but because it is newsworthy. So, and the other part is, I hope I can look back at this in a year and either say, "Thank God I was wrong," or if I'm right, at least I've got a little bit of what do you call it? When you can see the future. I can't remember. I can whatever that power is. I predict the future. No Nostradamus or whatever it is. Um, Trump just pardoned everybody from the January 6th, what was it, the parade through the Capitol? I can't remember exactly what they called it. Oh, it wasn't a riot, but whatever that was, the insurrection, uh, riot on the Capitol. I think it's gonna lead to not the riot on the Capitol, the pardoning of everybody on January 6th is going to lead to a brown shirt situation. And what I mean by that is now there's an unaccountable kind of militia, or at least these militias will feel that they have a license to do kind of anything they want because they've already gotten the signal that, hey, if you're on the right team, you can kind of get away with anything you want. And I don't know, at some point this summer, something will happen in a small town. I don't think this is going to happen in a city like Chicago or New York or well, LA is a whole nother story there, but there'll be some town like Ferguson, Missouri, where a store owner might take matters into his own hands if there's a shoplifter or maybe there's a traffic accident or incident that escalates. You know, who knows how these things will go, but it'll lead to some kind of violence in a city, you know, and then it'll be horrible. But I have a bad feeling a militia is going to sweep in to keep the peace and keep the streets safe. And in the process of that, it's just going to escalate things more and more until some really bad stuff's going to happen. So I just feel like there's going to be some vigilante violence in the streets that may lend itself to something like a Kyle Rittenhouse situation where people are just going to get in over their heads, and there's just too many guns out there, and a lot of innocent people are going to get hurt, and yeah, it could get messy. So that's my first not so exciting or not so constructive prediction. Um, the second one is there's been a lot of talk about the Panama Canal. You know, I know there was like a lease on it we had, and we said we were going to give it back in 1990 or whatever year it was, and we did. And for whatever reason now we want it back. And part of this is probably just big saber rattling, tough guy talk. And maybe it's a distraction, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's another idea to throw at the wall and see if anybody responds to it. But my fear in this, if I was uh, a foreign country, if I was an adversary or even a friend, which maybe these guys are, who knows? But but if I was Xing, or that's how you said the president of China's name, or Putin, I would call Trump and say, "Hey, that Panama Canal thing, you're right. You really should go take it back because you guys did build it, and it was a bad deal, giving it back. And whoever wrote that wasn't very smart. And you're a genius, so you should go back and take it. And in exchange for our support, and you're taking back the Panama Canal, uh, we just would like your support in taking Taiwan or taking what we've got in Ukraine and maybe a little bit more, or whatever big stick country can beat up on a little country suddenly now is justified in doing it. So because America's taken back something. I know the canal is not the entire country, but who are we kidding, So, and we did invade Grenada, and we did kick the shit out of them. And whatever year that was, 81 or something, I can't remember. Maybe it was 84. Uh, yeah, they'll never screw with us again. So that's the second one. I think it's just a bad geopolitical misstep to uh, get into, and that's a whole mess. So whatever. Um, and then the last is I think at some point Trump is what, 78. Um, and the last 2 years have just got to have been taking a beating on anybody, not just him, but just anyone, and especially at that age. I mean, my goodness. So and if his diet is as reported, a lot of McDonald's and Diet Cokes, I, I'm just saying, and he's had a heck of a run. I mean, the guy doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, and good for him. That's probably what's kept him around for so long. But there's at some point there's going to be a health event, and it could be anything from, stroke, a really minor one, to maybe something more severe. Who knows what it is? And there'll be a time for him to step down, and or this is part two, my third one. There's going to be some kind of, well, I don't know if there's going to be, but I can almost predict there will be, or I will predict there will be some kind of event, a catastrophic event, not an act of nature, but like another pandemic, almost like this bird flu that's going around, where people are starting to warn this could jump into humans. It's not a threat this second, but it's starting to float around out there. And in a year or two, if this thing morphs or something else comes along, who knows? China could be cooking something up right now in one of their labs, and kind of go spread it around in a wet market somewhere, and God knows what happens then. So there might be something where there's this stepping down because of a pandemic or some other event that just he won't be able to manage it in his whatever capacity. And so that's a twofer. My positive, I think is positive, constructive um, uh, prediction, and I really hope he does this. I hope he gets rid of this daylight savings time stuff. I think it's just we're past it. We don't really need to worry about it anymore as a society. Uh, I know it was created by Nixon to save energy at some point, and I'm all for saving energy, but this thing's gone on for way too long. And I think if I'm not mistaken, like the day after the switch of the clock, like heart attacks go up. I forget the number, but it's like a huge spike. and like cardiovascular events, just the emergencies rooms see like a huge spike in heart attacks and strokes and car accidents. There's all kinds of people that are sleepy drivers and stuff. So it's let's get rid of that. So if Trump does that, at least I'll give him a check in the constructive side of things. So that's going to be it for this podcast. It went about 15 minutes. Try to keep them a little bit shorter than this, but thank you for listening, and we'll be back soon.